and we begin. I'm going to share the prayer book. There it is. So here we are. We are together. It is wonderful to be together, even if it is virtually. Many of us are on Zoom and others of us are watching on YouTube. We are sitting in our places that hopefully feel like safe places to us. We are living in a world of turmoil and disruption, and we carve out this time to open ourselves up to a little bit of quietness and peace. And if possible, some joy, some contentment. So if you would like to take a breath, it may feel like we have too much time to ourselves now, or it may feel in some way still disjointed and discordant and hectic. Do you take a moment to really breathe? We enter into Shabbat. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. I'd like to invite Emma Rose Tudelman-Kriegler to do the blessing over the candles for us. If you would unmute yourself.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddishani b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lechadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Thank you, Emma Rose. We continue now with the Kiddush. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who finding favor with us, sanctified us with your mitzvot. In love and favor, you made the holy Shabbat our heritage as a reminder of the work of creation. As first among our sacred days, it recalls the exodus from Egypt. You chose us and set us apart from the peoples. In love and favor, you have given us your holy Shabbat as an inheritance. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Noni, you're muted. You need to unmute.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava v'ratzon, inchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי באנו וחטאת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני מקדיש השבת, אמן.
We turn now to Lecha Dodi. If you have a prayer book, it's on page 138 in the brackets. This poem invites us to turn to one another and say, beloved, come with me to meet the Shabbat bride. And even though we can't gather together physically, we join our spirits together and imagine the Shabbat bride bringing beauty and joy to our sacred time.
לך דודי לקראת קלה, יללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושמו תפארת לי תהילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יללה, 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 כדי שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף משה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יללה, 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 כדי שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, תבורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, יללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה.
We continue with the Baruch Hu. If you're able and if you choose to, I invite you to rise.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Baruch hu et Adonai המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך, המבורך, olam vaed, ha-mevorach, le'olam vaed.
Let's be seated. We continue. If you have a prayer book, on page 148 in the brackets. I invite you to read with me if you choose. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim.
Ahavat olam bit Yisrael, Amecha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbenu, uv'kumenu na'asiach b'chukecha, v'nizmach b'divrei toratecha, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי כן חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
We continue with the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Be'avait Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzvacha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקישרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני Elohim.
All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and Savior who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You performed miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously.
Ni kamocha bailim Adonai, ni kamocha neidar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele, nochutecha rahovanecha, bokei hayam, לפני משה ומרים, צאל ינור ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד.
ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, hapore sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
The tefillah begins on page 164 if you have a prayer book in front of you. And I invite you, if you choose and if you're able, to rise.
Adonai, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohi avotinu v'imoteinu, Elohi Avraham, Elohi Yitzchak, v'Elohi Yaakov, Elohi Sarah, Elohi Rivka, Elohi Rachel, Elohi Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor, VaHanara, El Elyon, Omel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chastevot Ve'imot, U'mivii Geula Livnei V'neihem, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר, מושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, עזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחייך כל התורה והושיע, מוריד אתה. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחייך הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו משני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדום מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש, ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום. יחללוך הסלע, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. We continue with Ritzeh.
Ritzeh, Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu be'amachah Yisrael, u'tefilatam be'ahava tikabel, u'tehilel ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha, u'tehilel ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. El karov lechol korav penei el avadecha v'choneinu shefoch ruchacha aleinu aleinu v'techezenu einenu v'shovecha leTzion ברחמים ותחזינה עינינו ושובך לציון ברחמים. Oh Lord, my God, hear my prayers. Help me to know that you're close to me, and help me feel you here. Baruch atah Adonai
You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yir'ah na'avod. We come now to our prayer of gratitude. And if there is anyone who would like to share something that you're grateful for this evening, I invite you to type it into the chat, or you can unmute yourself and add it out loud. Linda Horowitz.
So I had a little scare from a dermatologist, but it turns out to be nothing. So I'm fine. I'm very grateful.
Modima nachnu lach. We are grateful too that everything is fine, Linda. Susan Sisler.
I am grateful that I was able to get my phone and Zoom to play nicely together this evening.
I'm grateful for that too. Modima nachnu lach. Judith.
I've had a doctor's appointment this week and had a follow-up test, and I got an excellent report, and I'm very pleased with the results, as was the doctor, and so I'm very grateful.
Modima nachnu lach. That's good news. Linda Kushner-Silverman.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I had FaceTime with Jackson, and he told me he was in the hospital for a few days. And he was excited because he told me they gave him chocolate pudding every day. So he wasn't scared, he was fine. He does have to have a procedure, but he's gonna be okay.
Okay, he's gonna be okay?
He will be.
Good. Modima nachnu lach for hospital chocolate pudding and not being scared in the hospital, and that you're gonna be okay. Robin.
So now that I'm upstate for almost 4 months, I had to get some medical stuff done. Whoops, sorry about that. That was my phone. And I found doctors, not only who seem to be good, but they're all in one place. And there's parking. And I had a regular doctor, I saw an ENT, I saw a dermatologist. So I feel very lucky to have found this. So
All right. Modima nachnu lach for being able to find medical care that we need wherever we are. Who else? Let's see, is there something? Here we go. I am grateful for technology that allows me to attend services online. I think we are all grateful for that technology in these times. Modim anachnu lach. Does anybody else have anything they would like to add? Emma Rose.
Yes, I'm grateful for this community and that we have somewhere to go to check in every week, and that I was able to give back and do service tonight to the community.
Indeed, Modim anachnu lach. Leah Sofian says, grateful for a safe and peaceful protest today in Bushwick. Yes, we are grateful for people who care deeply enough to protest injustice. And we are grateful when those protests do remain peaceful. Modim anachnu lach. Anybody else have something they would like to add? Okay. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. And we continue now with our prayer for peace, sorely needed in so many ways.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. B'tov b'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol et u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
Baruch atah Adonai hamivarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We continue quietly. If you have a prayer book, there are words on pages 180 and 181. There are also words on the screen in front of you, if you can see the screen. And we can always use the words that are in our own hearts.
Adonai Ksuri, Adonai Ksuri, Vegali, Vegali.
May the words of our mouths and the meditations in our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. We turn our thoughts now to those among us and those in our hearts who are ill and who are in need of healing of body, of mind, or of spirit. I will invite you, if you did not send names to me this week, to type any names into the chat that you would like to have included in Misha Berach today. I will also give you an opportunity to say those names aloud. Today we hold in our hearts and in our thoughts for healing Evelyn Urbano, Jesse Sakharov, Ronnie Turek, Ira Weiss, Elaine Drucker, Alan Fremer, Susan Bilecki, Nathan Aaron Robbins, Andrew Mazzella, Jeffrey Levinson, Michael Scott Landisberg, Michael Luck, Alana Beth Berger, Shelley Oken, Louise Dankberg, Jane Berman, Harry Bower, Stephen Kamholtz, Holly Fouts, and Linda Kushner Silverman. Freema Schneier adds to the list Elaine Gordet, Ellie Heinrich, Phyllis O'Neill, Shari Rolnick, Marcy Babiatsky, Shirley Amrani, and Perry Frankel. Dale Harnick adds Ronald Resnick. Susan Sisler adds Dolores Weinberger, Ingrid Grosso, Roberta Gotthelf, Audrey Cohen, Fran Sisler. Diane Schenker adds Bert Migdal. Linda Feller adds Jackie Schicker, Kimberly Finnegan, Annie Nusimovici, and Michelle Nusimovici. Stan Hollander adds John Carfisi, Francis O'Haron, and Orlando Aiello. Ruth Belay adds Liz Yasuda, Park Shing Lam, Mark Steiner, Paul Steiner, Elizabeth Steiner, Patty and Erwin Cohen, and Monica Bayer. Pam Glansman adds Andy Glansman and Deanna and Ira Roth. Linda Horowitz adds Sandy Alfont, Irene Nachenoff, and Esther Bat Lucy. Patricia Matthews adds Jeanette Riley, Elena Arem, Chanel Kamabach, Warren Feliz, Jimmy Jenkins, Peter Gale, and Paul Kastick. Linda Kushner Silverman adds Jackson Kushner, Tara Kushner, Shelley Samet, David Gershon, and Stanley Tenen. Sam and Fran Silverman add Vicky Lightnicker, Eddie DeAngelis, Nettie Trommer, Dave Moore, and Mia Gannon. Ellen Rothstein adds Rebecca Rothstein and Bambi Polk. Mona Goldberg adds Anna Flores, Marlene Unterberger, Frances Bergman, Delphine Wolf, Freya Kashmir, and Michelle Boudin. In the chat, Adrienne Knoll adds Lonnie Rusica and Angela Marie Tassillo. Charlotte Russell adds Barry Strumpf and Selma Carl. Alan Zarrow adds the members of the NYPD. Suzanne Levine adds Phyllis Rogers. Emma Rose adds Jeff Silberman, who is having surgery next week. Alan adds the members of the NYPD who are trying to protect property and lives. Karen Kramer adds Marion McGivney. Robin Bass includes those people and families who have had gun violence impact them. Janice Issa adds Nicole Mantles Dean and Ruth Rubin. Adrian, that's correct. Adrian is correcting me that Jeanette Riley actually died. Yes, I have her on the list from last week and neglected to remove her, but that is true. And she also actually appears on our mourners Kaddish list today. So that was my mistake. Does anybody else have names they would like to add? You could unmute yourself if you have a name to add. Judith?
Stacy, David, Lauren, Julia, Mauser, and Wilma Mauser, Hannah Paynes, and Irene National.
Thank you. Thank you, Judith.
Thank
you. Does anyone else have a name they would like to add?
Christian Cooper.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Rabbi Heidi?
Yes?
Florence Impretato. She had surgery, her eye surgery the other day.
Thank you, Linda. And those on YouTube, if you would like to say any names aloud, please do so. I did mention Steve Kamholtz, but Monica Bayer is also adding Steve Kamholtz. Misha Berach.
Misha Berach, Avoti מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Of course, we also include in our prayers for healing all of those who are suffering from COVID-19, those who are suffering from the measures we've taken to shut down, to limit the spread of the virus, those who have been hurt in the protests over the past week and a half, including protesters and police who have been injured. Anyone who has been wounded in service to our country or Israel or hurt in other recent disasters, both natural and human created. So we pray for healing for all of them, those whose names we know and those whose names we don't know. Shabbat Shalom. This week, we are reading Parshat Naso. Now, if that sounds familiar, and like perhaps we also read Parshat Naso last week, that's because we did read Parshat Naso last week. And the reason for the repetition has to do with Shavuot. In the Reform movement, we observe Shavuot for one day, which means that Shavuot was last week, Thursday evening and Friday, and when Shabbat began, Shavuot was over. And so we moved to the next Torah portion in the sequence, which was Naso. However, lots of Jews outside of Israel observe Shavuot for 2 days. And so for them, on Shabbat, it was still Shavuot with its own Torah portion. And so they don't get to Naso until this week. The Reform movement, in order not to be out of step parsha-wise for the rest of the year, reads Naso for a second week. So that's the technical bit. One tactic that parents sometimes use with small children is that when the child has done something wrong, the parent tells them to apologize. That's pretty normal. And when the child says, "I'm sorry," the parent says, "What are you sorry for?" And the child has to learn to articulate what it is that they're being told that they have to be sorry for. Eventually, hopefully, the goal is that they learn to feel sorry for that sort of thing without someone telling them to first. Something similar happens if my viewings of TV shows about the judicial system are accurate, as you know, I'm sure they're really very, very accurate. When a person pleads guilty to a crime, at least some of the time, they have to elocute. They have to describe to the court what they did. And there are cases in which it's not enough to say, "I'm sorry," or just be sentenced, or in the case of a child, disciplined. Sometimes you have to say out loud what it is that you did and, show remorse. In our Torah portion this week, we read, "The Eternal spoke to Moses, saying, 'Speak to the Israelites. When a man or a woman commits any wrong toward another person, thus breaking faith with the Eternal, and that person realizes their guilt, they shall confess the wrong that they have done. They shall make restitution in the principal amount and add 1/5 to it, giving it to the one they have wronged. And then after all of that, the person also has to do a sacrifice of expiation. So there are 4 steps here. First, the person knows that they are guilty. Another way to translate the Hebrew for they realize their guilt, according to Bible scholar Jacob Milgram, is that they feel their guilt. He says that the way that the word is used there, it actually means they feel it. They feel remorse, not just that they're aware of their guilt. Second, the person publicly out loud confesses what they did. Third, the person makes amends to the person that they harmed, restitution plus 1/5. And fourth, the person does a sacrifice to ask for forgiveness from God. So here it seems that it isn't enough to feel guilty and be sorry, and it isn't even enough to make amends. You have to articulate what you've done wrong. Think about public apologies that you've seen, whether they're from entertainment personalities or politicians. And the fact is that most of them are not really apologies for what the person has said or done. The general formula goes, I am genuinely sorry for those whose feelings were hurt by what I said or did. Now, that is not an articulation of awareness of having done something wrong. It is saying only that the person regrets that people got angry or upset. So maybe the person truly doesn't feel sorry for what they did, or maybe they're not willing to make themselves vulnerable by actually acknowledging that they did something wrong. And in our litigious society, in some cases, the vulnerability that they would be opening themselves up to could include lawsuits. Really putting into words publicly something that you have done wrong is incredibly hard to do. Rabbi Shai Held suggests that a fundamental value underlies Judaism's commitment to verbal confession, whereas thoughts and feelings, for example, of guilt, are private and internal. Words are potentially, at least, relational. To ask another person for forgiveness is a relational gesture, a posture of genuine opening. As a nation, we're in a time now when all across our country, people are rising up in response to hundreds of years of systemic racism. Yes, there have been recent catalysts. The deaths at the hands of police of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and the pursuit and murder of Ahmaud Arbery by 3 white men. Incidents like these have been going on for as long as our country has existed. There's a lot of speculation as to why the protests are happening now all across the country and not in response to other deaths that have happened. But I think that that's a less important question than the question of what we as a nation need to do next. I have been speaking this evening about individual confession, and in our situation, that has its place. Knowing what our own biases are, and for those of us who are white, knowing the ways we benefit from white privilege and are complicit in a racist system, which does not mean that we ourselves are necessarily racist, but we are surrounded by systems that are, and talking about it, these things are important. The reason they are important is that realizing and articulating our own place in the system can help us to recognize that it is a system. Racism in our nation is much bigger than individual behavior and choices. It's about systems that have existed for decades or centuries that systematically and deliberately disadvantage Black people compared to white people. Yes, individuals can still sometimes succeed. Yes, we had a Black president of the United States, but the systems that remain in place are systems of institutionalized racism that lead to vastly disproportionate incarceration, poverty, poor health outcomes from COVID-19, negative interactions with law enforcement, and more. So it is important for us to articulate, especially those of us who are white, that we know what is wrong and we are sorry about it. Not just sorry that people are angry or sad, but sorry that this system exists and that we cannot help but be part of it. As Rabbi Held says, this confession is a relational gesture, a posture of genuine opening. And it may be rejected. And that possibility is one of the reasons that it's always hard to do. But it can also help the hurting people feel heard. We have seen across the country that when protesters feel heard, when police take a knee with them, for example, the protests have remained peaceful. When no empathy is shown, no relational gestures made, frustration and rage increase, and things are more likely to turn violent. But empathy is not enough. Feeling guilt and articulating culpability are only the first 2 steps of the 4 that we discussed. So if we stop there, nothing changes. There must be amends. In our case, amends means working towards systemic change in law enforcement procedures, in education, in finance, in the justice system, in so many ways. And the task is overwhelming, and no individual is responsible for everything that's wrong. No one of us will be able to complete the task, but neither should we desist from it. When we vote, when we donate to causes that we choose, I urge us all to consider how we can contribute to the creation of a more equal society. As we work toward that, we can also ask for forgiveness from God in whatever way that word God, in whatever that word God means to us. There are brilliant people out there with ideas for how to make things better. We can find them and support them. May we have hope, may we have determination, and may we open the doors of empathy and relationships and walk through them to make amends as a society to those who have been harmed. Meanwhile, as individuals, may we take care of ourselves, stay safe and healthy in these difficult times, and love one another as much as we can. Amen and Shabbat Shalom.
We live in a world filled with hunger and strife, where cruelty and violence bring an end to life. What happened to the innocence in what we believe? Could we start over with Adam and Eve? The babble we hear seems never to change. The hatred and anger is so strange. The sky again is pouring. There's once again a flood. Just like with Noah, we feel stuck in the mud. We have eyes but can't see. We have ears but can't hear. All that we cherish, all we hold dear. We have eyes but can't see. We have ears but can't hear. Hearken to the message. The answer is clear. The answer is clear. Throughout the desert, the sand whips the air. In the cities, the homeless are there. Who is to blame? Who claims the fault? Just like Lot's wife, it all turns to salt. It's time to leave that which won't work. Be kind and gentle, duties don't shirk. The love of God and people must not cease. The road between us shall lead us to peace. Moses, Mohammed, Jesus and more, spoke of commitment deep in our core. Love our neighbor, or the golden rule. Fill the churches, the mosques, the schools. Yes, we are different, but much the same. Prizing family and friends and a good name. Our thoughts and actions, emotions we feel, could create a new garden where life can be real. We have eyes but can't see, we have ears but can't hear, all that we cherish, all we hold dear. We have eyes but can't see, we have ears but can't hear. Hearken to the message, the answer is clear. The answer is clear.
We are preparing now to continue with the Aleinu, looking toward the day when all the world will be one and at peace. If you choose, I invite you to rise.
עלינו לשבח לדון הכל, לעתיד גדולו ליוצא בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגופי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Let's be seated. We turn our thoughts now to those who are no longer with us, our loved ones who have died in the past days or weeks or months, or in past years at this time of the year. We remember, though, if you have names you'd like to add that you have not sent to me, please put them into the chat. We remember those who have died in the past year. Jeanette Riley, William Lamp, Martin Shankin, Solomon Tettelbaum, Sean Singer, Jeff Harris, Sammy Berger, Rabbi Kenneth Roseman, Chaim Braunzweig, Harry Baylor, Ben Schaefer, Shirley Hyatt Tobias, Myron Klein, Ted Tobias, Sandy Gannon Abel, David Ribbler, Bess Newman, Buzz Lorch, Benjamin Benjamin Elwood, Edward Albino, Joseph Davis, Jerry Charon, Gary Zeitlin, Sean Devlin, David Levy, Lenny Drucker, Beverly Tredinick, Evelyn Pincus, Rita Spiro, Beatrice B.J. Jacobs, Melvin Jorgrau, Gloria Katzin, Lorraine Elner, Amanda Corwin, Mel Paul, Nigel Grant, Benjamin Resnick, Robin Silverman, Jeanette Zarrow, Claire Strauss, Roberta Kessman, Joshua Steiner, Andrew M. Cohen, Neda Albray, Roz Kirschenbaum, George Floyd, Brianna Taylor, Ahmad Arbery. Ellen Rothstein adds Selma Gold, Jeff Harris, Helen Polk, Sheila Katan, Dr. Mark Leibowitz, Dr. Tina Polk, Dr. Austin Schlecker. Ken Orland adds his mother, Evelyn Orland. Hannah Roth Seavey adds Ronald Seavey. Ruth Belay adds Rita Belay, Jay Jankelowitz, and Howard Jankelowitz. Mara Minsky adds Sally Wadman. Eric Platt adds Abby Scheck. Jane and Harold Gleiberman add Arthur Roski. On our yahrzeit list today, this weekend, are Bernard Cohen's son, Andrew M. Cohen. This is his first yahrzeit. Catherine Haslanger's father, Fred Haslanger. Stan Ginsberg's mother-in-law, Florence Honig. Grace Schneider's brother and Janet Schlesinger's uncle, William Hyman. Joyce Kantrowitz's husband, Phil Kantrowitz. Joan Salisbury's father, Arthur George Pincus. And Saul Radow's mother, Sylvia Radow. Robin is remembering all of the people killed by gun violence in our country. This weekend is Wear Orange Weekend for that purpose. Linda Kushner Silverman adds Barbara Kafka. Karen adds Scott Cohen. Alan Zarrow reminds us that tomorrow is the 76th anniversary of D-Day. Thank you for that, Alan. We remember all of the soldiers who died on the beaches of Normandy. Mona Goldberg adds Phyllis Schiffer and David Sutherland. Karen Kramer adds Leatrice Langer. Emma Rose Tuttleman-Kriegler adds Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and Sean Reed. And Charlotte Russell adds Frederick Sorkin. Does anyone else have any other names they would like to add? Those of you on YouTube, if you have any names you would like to say aloud, please do so. We also include all of those who have died around the world from various causes, whether war or famine or terror or disaster. And of course, all of those who have died from COVID-19 and who have died as a result of the protests that have been going on. Let me just bring up the mourner's Kaddish. I invite you to participate in the mourner's Kaddish according to your own custom. Oh, I see that there's one more. Helene in the chat adds that it is the anniversary of Robert Kennedy's assassination and also the 6-day war in Israel. And Linda says the southern US for the pandemic, the riots, and the hurricane. I invite you to participate according to your own custom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mevorach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran ba'alma v'yimru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to the bereaved wherever they may be. And let us say, Amen. Let's be seated.
Oseh shalom bimramav, Oyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
A few announcements before we conclude. Tomorrow morning at 9:45 a.m., we will meet for Biyachad, our discussion for adults. So I hope to see you there. The Zoom link was in the email that went out this morning. And following Biyachad, we will have services on Zoom and on YouTube at 11 a.m. Tomorrow evening, super exciting, at 7:30 p.m. Is a variety show Grows in Brooklyn, our telethon style fundraiser variety show featuring Adam Grouper, who is a Broadway star, and Lauren Behrman, who is a rock star, and all kinds of other talented people from our congregation. There are so many talented people in our congregation. It's going to be a great show. I'm doing a little parody song, which you'll see. Well, you'll see what you think. And I have a very exciting announcement, which is we have a challenge grant. So $5,000 has been put up to match dollar for dollar donations made during the show. So up to $5,000, your donation will be matched if you make the donation during the show. So super exciting. And, but just show up and enjoy it. All the information that you need is at beshert.org/live. And our own cantorial soloist Noni is going to be performing with her amazing daughter Emily. So there's just going to be so much good stuff going on. I believe also we're going to be able to see the short film that Harvey Wang made about the baseball cantata. So that should also be super duper cool. So that's mainly what I've got for announcements. Although Torah City is happening on Tuesday, I hear that is a very good time. It's led by Sam Silverman with tech help from Rabbi Alexis Pinsky. So that's good. By the way, the hosts tomorrow night are Rabbi Pinsky and Jeff Levinson. And if you've ever been to a board meeting, you know how funny Jeff is. So that should all be very, very good. So does anybody, am I forgetting any announcements that I should be making? Is there anybody who wants to chime in? I'm getting texts from my husband, who's apparently watching the service downstairs, and he's saying, yes, it is the world premiere of the Cantor's last cantata, which is about, do you remember Cantor Suzanne Bernstein directed the baseball cantata? Anyway, it's about that. I actually got a preview. It's fun. So show up, whether you can donate or not, show up. It's going to be super fun. So, Noni, do we have a closing song?
We'll close just singing tonight, Hine Matov.
Okay.
Hine Matov Manayim She'etachim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim She'etachim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov She'etachim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov She'etachim
Charlotte, did you have an announcement to add?
No.
Okay.
No. I just turned it off by mistake.
Okay, just checking. Oh, I didn't mean to mute myself just then. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha Shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine on you and be gracious to you. May God lift God's face toward you and give you peace. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.